Detective Morgan thought it was an open-end shut case. The evidence was there. The confession was recorded. And the suspect? He was as guilty as they come. At least, that's what everyone believed, until a single piece of overlooked evidence turned the entire case upside down. What really happened the night of April 14th? And how did the justice system nearly convict the wrong man? The interrogation room was cold, sterile. A single flickering light overhead cast deep shadows across the metal table, where Ethan Caldwell sat, wrists shackled, staring at the floor. Across from him, Detective Morgan leaned forward, hands folded, studying him like a puzzle that had already been solved. "Let's go over this one more time," Morgan said, his voice steady.
You were at the scene. Your fingerprints were on the murder weapon, and we have you on tape confessing. So why are we even having this conversation?
Ethan exhaled sharply, shaking his head.
Because I didn't do it.
Morgan let out a dry chuckle. He'd heard that 100 times before. But this case, it was airtight. The murder of Dr. Leonard Bryce, a respected forensic scientist, had been the talk of the city for weeks. Stabbed in his own home, his body left in a pool of blood, and every shred of evidence pointed to Ethan, a former intern who had been fired just weeks prior after a heated argument with a doctor. Witnesses placed Ethan near the scene. His alibi had holes, and the security camera footage, it showed him entering the doctor's building that night. It was all there. So when he finally broke down during interrogation and confessed, Morgan had closed the case with confidence. But then everything changed. Days before Ethan's trial, Assistant DA Rachel Holt sat at her desk, reviewing the case file for the last time. Every detail seemed perfect until she noticed something strange. The confession tape. She replayed it, listening closely, and then she heard it. A small, almost imperceptible click just before Ethan spoke. She rewound, played it again. Click, then confession. Her stomach twisted. That sound, it was a telltale sign of an audio splice. Someone had tampered with the confession. Morgan got the call in the middle of the night.
"Detective, we have a problem."
Morgan stormed into the evidence room at dawn, demanding to hear the full, unedited interrogation tape. What he found shook him to his core. The confession had been doctored. Ethan never actually confessed. The full recording showed him repeatedly denying the accusations, until the audio cut. The next part, the confession, was stitched in. But who did it, and why? With a sinking feeling, Morgan reviewed the original case files. That's when he saw it. Another red flag he had overlooked. The murder weapon, a knife, had been found in Ethan's apartment. It had his fingerprints, but only on the handle. No smudges, no partial prints, nothing on the blade itself. As if it had been wiped down and planted. Someone framed Ethan Caldwell, and the real killer was still out there. Digging deeper, Morgan found something even more disturbing. Dr. Bryce had been working on a major forensic research project before his death, one that could have exposed serious corruption within the police department. And guess who was on that list? Detective Mark Pearson, a senior officer, respected, untouchable, and the same man who had handled Ethan's interrogation. Morgan's pulse quickened. If Pearson had manipulated a confession, that meant one thing. He was covering for someone. Surveillance footage from Dr. Bryce's neighborhood showed a second person entering the building that night, wearing a police-issued raincoat. Pearson had been there. Morgan confronted him in the parking garage late that night.
You framed an innocent man,
Morgan said, his voice low, furious. Pearson smirked, lighting a cigarette.
You think anyone's gonna believe that?
But Morgan wasn't alone. Holt was there, too, wearing a wire. Within 48 hours, Pearson was arrested. Ethan Caldwell walked free. And Dr. Bryce? His research, once buried, became the evidence that took down half the corrupt officers in the department. Justice had nearly failed. But in the end, one small detail saved an innocent man's life. How many times has this happened before? Where the wrong person takes the fall. And what about the ones who never get that lucky break? Like, share, subscribe. Because stories like this aren't just fiction. They happen every day.